Here we're going to Policy, AI Endpoint Analytics, and we arrive at our overview page here. Up at the top, you can see the requirements for AI Endpoint Analytics. And we're going to scroll through here and just show you a brief glimpse of the overview of our total endpoints. Here you can see what are, which devices are missing profiles, fully profiled, unknown. We have our highlight of trust scores, which we'll go into a bit later. We can see endpoints profiled by low, medium, and high. And we can see a little bit more information about, the four items we discussed missing profile labels. And then finally, we can look at our AI proposals. And lastly, we have our endpoint MAC randomization where we can look at static MAC addresses versus random MAC addresses within our network. And this high level glimpse will help us gain insight, and we can dive a little bit deeper here in our next demos. We'll go a little bit further into how that information is going to translate to increased visibility and overall increased security of your network. So let's jump back over. All right, so we can see we have a endpoint registry. Let's go ahead and go to policy, yeah, endpoint analytics, and exit that workflow there. And we'll go to endpoint inventory and look at actions, register endpoints. Click let's do it. And then enter a MAC address. We're just importing a single device, CT system workstation. We'll input the hardware model and fourth item, hardware manufacturer. Click next. It'll give you a summary, and then you'll just register the endpoint. And you can view and filter the devices registered over here. Now we have another endpoint that DNAC discovered, and we're going to profile it. So it detected it. It doesn't have a rule yet. We're going to go ahead and profile it with a custom rule. So we'll give it a name, give it a profile label, endpoint type, select workstation. And now we're going to go ahead and choose the attribute conditions. Again, this is going to let ICE know. This is going to be shared with ICE so that ICE can profile endpoints accordingly. And endpoint type, we're going to go ahead and say that it equals workstation. And hardware manufacturer VMware. Click next. Now we're going to do our and or logic. So here we're saying that one or the other conditions need to be met. And if they are met, DNA Center will profile this device as such, give you a review and summary of the review, and click Profile. Looks like it errored out there. We're just going to repeat this real quick. Do our and or logic again, and click Profile. Looks like it was successful this time. Now, anytime endpoint that connects to the network that matches any of those attributes that are also again shared with ICE, so ICE and DNAC are constantly communicating with each other, those endpoints will be listed in the endpoint inventory as such. Let's go ahead and jump back to the slide. And we're going to jump into the endpoint subnet inspection. Now let's take a look at the trust score demo. I'm going to go ahead and pull that up. And here we can see we're at AI endpoint analytics inventory. If we click the focus, we can transition over to trust score. And we can get a little bit more information on how the endpoints are getting that trust score. Go ahead and pull this back up. So we can see many columns. A lot of them are getting concurrent MAC addresses. We'll go ahead and apply an ANC policy to it. And click the MAC address for further details. See it's a VMware device, trust score of 3. We need to create some custom profiling rules that we talked about earlier. There we can see our legend here for high risk, low risk, medium risk. You can see that each of these are enabled. We can toggle it, disable, enable if needed. And we'll click on concurrent MAC addresses. We can see the other MAC addresses that this endpoint used. If needed, we can, give feedback if, it was accurate, if we want to reset it, and then we can go ahead and apply an ANC policy. Choose an ANC policy to apply with this specific MAC address. And then if we need to create a new policy, we can go to Cisco ICE and create that policy. Then we can come back here, locate it, and then click apply. Next, we'll go over to attributes, to the MAC addresses, it's an OUI of VMware. If we need to, we can check out our attribute glossary. Again, these are sourced from ICE. And now we're just going back to our overview tab to show how the breakdown of the trust scores looks. We can go over to manage sources, click on, oh yeah, we can schedule our updates here. And ICE integration, enhanced authorization. Again, this requires 3.1. It's going to give enhanced authorization attributes for Cisco Trust Score. So enhanced authorization integration requires ICE 3.1. And here we can enable, disable our trust score sources. If there's an item here that isn't needed, uh, disable it. It's recommended to have all enabled. That way DNAC can detect all anomalies. And here we can get our percentage. We can quickly see, which endpoints have the lowest trust score and zone in on those. You can see all three of the low trust scores have concurrent MAC address anomalies. And we have our authentication. Then you'll use the OTP generated by Cisco DNA Cloud and input it into Cisco DNA Center's cloud authentication page located in system settings. Next, you'll enable TELUS IP reputation under trust score sources in Cisco DNA Center. Finally, you'll ensure Cisco DNA Center is enabled as the NetFlow collector, and then you'll enable application telemetry on compatible network devices. Let's go ahead and jump over to the demo itself. And we go to policy, AI endpoint analytics, configuration, trust score sources, and you need version 233 for this. You can see it's disabled, and we have a warning that it needs to be registered with Cisco DNA Cloud. Let's go to System, Settings, and Cloud Authentication. And here we can see also dna.cisco.com. That is the URL you'll need to go to. Where do I get my encryption key? If you click this, it'll automatically redirect you to that portal. I have it pulled up over here, so I'm going to go ahead and subscribe to Talos. It'll be under the Home section, which will land you at Cloud Subscriptions. We got Offer, Talos Threat Intelligence, Region, US West 2, Agree, and then Subscribe to Offer. And we can see once it is successful, it'll be listed here. Next, we'll want to create that connection. So we'll go to on-prem connections. It's going to create a connection between DNA Center and DNA Cloud so that it can sync up with the Talos database. The Cisco DNA Center, product name. Here, we can select Cisco DNA Center and we'll select the region and click register and copy the OTP that was generated. Click close. And we'll scroll down here to the page we were at earlier, click add OTP key, and paste that code in. We can see that we had a success. And if we refresh the page here, it'll show registered. Next, let's go to Policy, AI Endpoint Analytics, Configuration, Trust Score Sources, and we can see the warning sign is not there anymore. We'll go ahead and enable it, and note it can take up to 60 seconds to enable. Once it's enabled, we just need to make sure it'll go to design and make sure DNA Center is the net flow collector. This is how it will obtain data for when endpoints browse to potentially malicious IP address. And you can look at that here under design, network settings, telemetry. You can see it is enabled. And so we'll click menu, go to provision, inventory, and we'll select the compatible devices to enable application telemetry. And we'll click actions, telemetry, enable application telemetry. And that is the workflow for integrating Talos with Cisco DNA Center. Now, when you go to AI endpoint analytics and you see you focus in on trust scores and you see devices, at a trust score of 3, potentially it could be lower. It'll be at a maximum of 3 if they access a malicious device. It could be lower because they may be hitting other other attributes, other classifications that have categorized it. Say it needs to be at a trust score of 1 or something like that. You can click on the device and get further details into the IP that they access by clicking on that device, and then it will take you to the Talos section.